On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob and I give a recap of the Blueprint Conference out in Las Vegas, the CMLS 2024 conference in Seattle. We also discuss who owns the MLS data in RE Colorado now, with a little sprinkling of CCP. Let's go!
This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective, with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson. Hi, everybody. This is Greg, and I wanted to give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor, CoreLogic. There has never been a time when it's been more crucial for real estate agents to demonstrate their value to their clients, and CoreLogic has all the tools for them to do so. One Home has generated over 17 million unique users who are exploring listing and neighborhood data. Their invitation-only client portal has also amassed 2.3 billion listing views, and their new Photo AI search helps turn clients' visual aspirations into reality. For agents on the go, there's MLS Touch, which is their top-rated real estate app in the App Store, which gives agents instant access to critical MLS data wherever they are, and also can be branded for collaboration as a client version. Next up is RealList. RealList gives agents expert level analysis of properties, which helps their clients make smarter decisions and also can help them with their lead generation efforts. All this is underpinned by Matrix, the industry's leading MLS system. Currently, CoreLogic is rolling out Matrix 12, which will have a brand new interface that works perfect for mobile and desktop. Lots of great stuff happening at CoreLogic. Don't forget an update from your favorite rep, whether that's Rick, Todd, Kim, Lauren, or the rest of the crew, or visit their website. You can look at the link in the show notes. My thanks again for CoreLogic for sponsoring Industry Relations.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is your co-host, the notorious Rob, and as always, my amazing co-host, the fabulous Greg Robertson.
It's been a long 2 weeks, man.
It's
been just got back last night. Oh my God.
Jesus. And I think we couldn't do an episode, so we might have missed one.
Yeah, we did.
So let's apologize. We apologize profusely.
Sincerely.
But yeah, Greg and I are caught in travel hell. And you more than me, because Blueprint, which was 2 weeks ago, was at least here in Vegas. So I got to just drive to it.
Yeah.
You had to come out for it. And then we've both been on travel this week, and I'm still traveling next week. You got any more travel?
Yeah, well, NAR annual, right, which is going to be in November.
Yeah.
But I also have a couple kind of client stuff coming up, but that's thankfully not until I think that's the 9th of October. So
okay.
A little bit of a break here. And then, but I'm so done. Good Lord. Because my starting with, CRMLS had a great event called Thrive we didn't talk about. But
we didn't, yeah.
Yeah, and that was in Universal City here. So I had to go up to LA, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But that was a 2-night, so I went from there to Blueprint.
Yeah.
I came home for one day and then went straight up to Seattle because my sister's up there.
That's right.
And then spent the weekend with my sister and my mom and
she won some kind of award, right?
Yeah, my sister, I'm so proud of her. She used to work for the Auburn School District, and she was in the family engagement, and she she started a club for the kids called Latinos United or Unidos. And just really did a great job. And she retired, and they invited her here back for a reward this year. And it just so happened I was up there, so I just took an Uber down to surprise her. Yeah. But it wasn't only just an award; they actually named the award after her. So it was the Pilar Hunter Family Engagement Game Changer. So she was the first one to get it, and then now she gets to give it every year to somebody else. So she's always trying to outshine me, my sister. Which she does all the time anyway. So
don't you have to win though? What's the Nate?
I won that at
that
Inman.
award, right?
Yeah, I won that at Inman a couple years ago.
Okay, so there you go. So you actually outshining her, and
well, I don't know. I haven't had an award named after me, right? So that's shit. That's like the Lombardi Trophy, right?
We'll have to take up a movement to get an award named after you. What award would be most appropriate being named after Greg Robinson?
I don't know about that one, bro. I'll put a picture of her getting a reward in the show notes because it was just so proud of her.
Well, congratulations, Pilar. Wonderful. Yeah. Kudos to you. And now we're gonna talk about boring real estate shit. Well, not boring to us, but Yeah. So I figured let's start with Blueprint because it's
right.
We were both there. It was a great conference. I didn't have that many takeaways. I don't know. So I'll just start with you. Like, what was your take on Blueprint? What you learned, what you hear. What was your big sort of takeaway from that event?
Yeah. So it's the second time I've been there. The first time I went there it was right after I'd left Lone Wolf. So
right.
I'd put in for a free pass as a blogger. So I went there kind of as vendor alley to check it out. And, we met there or whatever, and you were working on some stuff too. And so the buzz there is definitely more of it's commerce is going on, right? There's a lot of VCs there. There's a lot of companies that are trying to get capital or have capital and show off what they're doing. A lot of cutting edge stuff, like a lot in the more commercial prop tech space, right? Like a robot that climbs walls or, maybe even some sort of an interesting kind of financial instruments or whatever. Not as much as the resi stuff, the residential stuff we see. Although this year I did notice quite a few more people from our kind of our community, right? A lot of people from the MLS and vendors and things like that. So that was interesting to kind of see how. Just the first time I went, I hardly recognized anybody from our industry, and like this time, there was a ton of people from our industry. So maybe word's getting out about that. The frustrating part, having been started, 3 companies and all bootstrap those. I don't know the whole kind of venture capital or private raise or angel network stuff.
Right.
And I did get a chance to, in some lobby bar conversations and some introductions, to talk to a lot of these guys. And they're just not, it's hard to explain our industry to them, right? What's an MLS? Well, aren't those going away? Why would they do that? There's, and some of these are valid questions, but they've been saying that for, 50 years, for crying out loud, right? And it only seems to be growing. So I left kind of feeling like, you got to be some sort of club there to really make a difference. And I'm firmly in the residential club as you are and some others. So I don't know if it's just because I don't have the patience or whatever else, but I left thinking that our industry needs really more of people that really understand the industry, that have that kind of money. But the money they want to do, they want to deploy $10 million and they want to deploy, $50 million or, $100 million. And I'm like, well, I think you could still do very well, hitting some doubles and triples. You don't have to hit a home run every time with that.
It goes beyond that though, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the issues there is, and again, maybe this inside baseball no one gives a crap about, but as you know, I am in a startup founder now. So I'm doing fundraising. One of the things I've learned very quickly is sort of the professional VCs, right? In other words, these are finance guys, right, who decide, hey, I'm interested in doing venture capital work. So they go to investors, to LPs, and raise money, right? And if you do that, then you have to give them a return. And nobody's putting money into a venture capital fund expecting 8% returns. They're expecting these huge returns. Yeah. Understanding that there's huge risk as well. Yeah. So for those guys, it really so I talked to one investor early on, and he's like, I love what you're building, I love what you're doing, but quite frankly, if we can't invest $100 million, it doesn't move the needle for us because their fund was so big.
Right.
It's he could invest $1 million, $2 million, no problem. But the problem is, even if you double that money, even if you 10x that money, because the size of his fund, it just doesn't do enough for him. And I totally get that. So a lot of the VCs, when they talk about we need to deploy 10 million, is because if they don't, then even if you win, it doesn't make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Versus you have sort of I guess what I'll call more founder-led or former entrepreneurs, people who they don't have the pressure from like sort of outside investors to be like, hey man, you were promising me 40%, annualized returns. Where's my money? Then I think those are the guys who tend to write, quite frankly, smaller checks. Those are the angel networks. And they're much more interested in, hey, if I put money in, I double my money, I triple my money, that's awesome, right? I put in 100,000, I put in $1 million, and I 10x'd it because whatever I invested in, went ballistic. Fantastic. And if I lose it, that sucks, but it's like I have it to lose.
Yeah,
right?
you only invest what you can,
Exactly.
you can actually lose, right? Yeah,
exactly. And I do think it's appropriate that those conversations are happening in Las Vegas because that's the whole, spirit of the city, right? Like, if you put it on the table,
try your luck.
You could lose it, but
winner, chicken dinner.
If you hit the number,
I love that.
Yeah, so I think that I can't wait to see you do that. I think it's amazing. Like I said, I'm probably gonna be like your first applicant.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but,
I think
I
don't really.
I think the industry needs it. Is my point, right?
Yeah, I think there's a couple people out there that that you and I know mutually that I'm kind of talking with, and because I know nothing about all this stuff, but I want to learn. And then if I know a lot of people, I always try to connect people that I think when it makes sense to connect them. So if we can bring something like that to us, I think that's this industry. I think that's a good thing.
Hey, so listen, if you're listening to this and you're a certifiably rich guy and you like to get involved in the real estate angel network, give Greg a ring.
Yeah, and I'll have to come up with a name for it, so we'll see what happens here, right?
Well, cool. I mean, I didn't have any interesting takeaways like that I want to share. I did have one that I'm going to share in a couple of weeks, I think. But my big thing was, I think the AI hype cycle has reached its peak. Literally, I saw a company called Sewer.ai.
Okay.
And like, I'm not saying you can't, there might be some reason why AI is going to improve sewers. I mean, I guess. But I felt like half the companies I saw were something.ai.
I mean, Sewer AI, you can't make up that shit. Boom. I needed so much of a freaking sound effect here for that.
When the founders find out about that joke, they're gonna be pretty pissed off.
Oh,
okay?
I'm sure they've heard that joke before.
It's like you're urinating on their name.
Sewer AI, you can't make up that shit.
But so that was like, is AI going to be this transformative thing? Probably. Do you know what I mean? Of course it is. But man, there's a lot of hype out there. I felt like every startup I saw pitching something on kind of their innovation stage used the word AI, like talked about how they're using AI for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I guess. But as far as I know, none of you guys are building actual AI. You're just getting an API from ChatGPT or, one of the other actual big AI machine engines. So I'm like, at this point, I think I'm kind of feeling like the AI revolution, similar to the first .com, revolution. I don't remember. I know the first .com, like the whole, oh my God. The first, I'm going to say, few years of it, the only winners were like Cisco,
right?
And Sun Microsystems. So I feel like the big winner of this whole AI thing is NVIDIA.
Right. Actual... Oh, for sure.
So it's like the what you hear about the California Gold Rush, right? That the big winner at California Gold Rush was Levi Strauss because they were selling mining equipment to all these
picks
miners.
And shovels, not and blue jeans. Those are the guys that made out, right?
Yeah. So I think that, look, I think there's a real estate angle. It's probably more commercial, but all these AI things, they all want these giant data centers with infinite electricity. So start working on those big land deals, in Nevada where you could build nuclear power plants and a giant data center because there's nothing there. Don't build on a farmland, please. We need food.
Yeah. I don't know. It is interesting. I mean, I think, that AI right now really kind of benefits the incumbents out there as far as the big companies that can leverage to get it even more productive as far as like any new things that are coming out. I mean, to me, the stuff that I see are more, it's not really a product, it's a feature, right? Oh, it's our CRM driven by AI. Well, I mean, I think other big CRMs are going to implement some sort of AI strategy. So I do think it's somewhat transformative, but I mean, it's early days, so we'll have to see what happens. And it's like, to me, anything like, in the app store world and for any device, there had to be the killer app.
Right.
Okay, this application really makes this platform shine. Right. And I think, crypto was kind of looking for that. Some other things were looking for that. Back in the day with the .bomb stuff, I mean, yeah, you could technically order a pizza via your, internet, but it didn't really scale at all. It was just kind of this novelty thing, right? Until everything has to catch up.
Sure.
We'll have to see. I mean, I use it for now because I'm kind of known for my typos on my Vendor Alley posts. So from now on, I always I write the article, I copy it, I go to ChatGPT and I say, please proof this text.
Right.
And if it comes back and says, hey, add a dash here, take out a comma to do this, and this word's misspelled. So that's that's been helpful. But I mean, beyond that, and that could have been a proofreader. I could have, gone to Fiverr or Upwork and hired a proofreader for that. But I haven't really. I don't know about you, and I think we're the same. We could actually just feed it a title and have it write articles for us. But I mean,
you can.
Or change. Like somebody said, well, why don't you can change the tone of what you're writing? And I'm like, I think for you, when I read you, Rob, I mean, I hear your voice. I mean, there is that. It's a kind of a known thing. Like a writer has his voice, right? And I think the same way for me, as pithy as I am on some of my things, I can't imagine like you putting up there something generated by AI that I would not go, that doesn't really sound like Rob to me, right? I mean, there's definitely a voice there. So
and not anytime
we'll see what
soon.
happens.
And I enjoy writing, so I probably will never do that. But I've used ChatGPT a whole bunch, so.
We'll
anyway.
see.
All right, so that was Blueprint. Again, lots of really great meetings. I think it's the best real estate conference on the calendar at now. But, to your point, it's about commerce, it's about business. You're not going to find a whole lot of agents there talking to, going to sessions about how to use AI to do lead gen.
Right.
That's just not that kind of conference. So I do like that. But speaking of business conferences, you were at another important one. I think that was this week, right?
Yes.
So tell us about your experience at CMLS. What did you see? What did you hear? What went down?
Well, it was CMLS 2024. It was held in downtown Seattle, which in itself was a kind of a big news item because I'd known they had chosen Seattle a while back, but because of the downtown scene not being ideal, right? I mean, you've seen this in places like Portland and other places, but I guess the movers and shakers there who make the decisions about these things thought it was appropriate. And I got to say, it was beautiful down there. The weather, they lucked out on the weather lottery. Just an amazing place.
Really?
I mean, as you know, I was born in that area, right? Yeah. So I had a lot of...
A mutual friend of ours, who I won't name, told me that he had to step over two homeless people doing fentanyl, like right in front of some restaurant or something.
Well, I'm not saying there wasn't homeless people out there. I mean, like any city like San Francisco or whatever else. I mean, there are people there, but it was nothing like, like back in the day when, they were fighting police or taking up over a whole street and, waving signs of anarchy.
So there wasn't an active riot going on.
No. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been up there. It's a much better situation than it has been in the past, right?
Okay. Yeah.
They had some weird, I will say this, just a little bit of side note. Every restaurant it seemed downtown had some sort of like 18% tax on your order. And I don't know, I never really got a clear explanation. Yeah, like a convenience fee or something like that,
what?
Right? Well, I'm speculating here because I never really got an answer on it, but it seemed like to me like it was maybe an encouragement to keep downtown businesses going, that they were allowed to kind of tack on a thing. And again, that's my guess on it, right?
Okay.
But and like somewhere half goes to the staff, some goes to the corporation. It's just a weird kind of thing there. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
So that was the Monday night was the opening night ceremony. Danae, I talked to Danae Evans, who's the CEO of CMLS.
Yep.
I think it's the largest CMLS they had ever.
Oh
right?
wow.
So
Right on.
the industry is still pumping along. I think with all the news and everything else, it was good for everybody to get together. I know when I went at the welcome reception, I didn't get like more than 20 feet before that, and I had a couple excursions outside of it. One night I went to a party at one of those Seattle houseboats.
Oh wow.
Beautiful
okay.
house, actually was
yeah.
for sale for $6 million, and
Just six.
sleep. Yeah, just sick. But
Just sick, okay.
like the Sleepless in Seattle. If everybody's seen that movie,
Yeah.
Tom Hanks lives on one of Seattle's. Anyway, beautiful, kind of, more modern, kind of decorating and the structure.
Yeah.
And then I went over and there's a gem, a Geek Estate mastermind dinner that Drew Meyer held at his house, and met some amazing people there. And he cooked us a eggplant, lasagna we all had together and some wine, and that was a fantastic evening as well.
Oh, great.
So we did that.
Great.
Lots of, still kind of the same kind of vendors. They had the little vendor alley area there, of course, and then just a ton of speakers. I think there was actually the conference was, in my memory, it always ended right around lunch, but this one went past. I think I was the last speaker, and I was on at 2:50, and I could be wrong about that, but I always thought it was a little bit earlier than that.
So listen, I mean, this is the first CMLS since the big changes, right? Since the settlement. We're now a month or so in, I guess, maybe just over a month, right, into the new system.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that the conversation had to be, pretty big. Like anything really cool come out?
I think that what it centered upon is there were some stories there about the implementation. I think as we've been hearing, it's been rolling out pretty good. I mean, they didn't talk, as we always kind of complain, nobody was talking about this, but once they got started talking about it, they went into, high gear to kind of get everybody on board. So, you heard a few stories, just funny stories of agents and how they deal with it. I think Northwest MLS, because they're not affiliated with NAR, they had some panelists there because it's in their kind of backyard.
Sure.
We're talking about some of the way the ways that they run their MLS, which I thought were intriguing, and they're hoping to get to a statewide.
And they haven't settled.
I don't think so. No.
I think they're ready to go to war with the lawyers and the
along with
DOJ. They think that they're in the right. The constitutional right. All of that. I mean, we read that memo, so it's super interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Some of the highlights to me is that what it seemed to me, what everybody was coalescing around was CCP. Right. We had an episode on this, and everybody, I think, is starting to realize that this is a fundamental threat also to MLSs, right? And it seems the lines are drawn pretty clearly here.
What are the lines?
The line is between
Revkin and Compass. I heard he spoke.
Yeah, Revkin and Compass and the rest of everybody else, because EXP has come out and said that, hey, we don't think that having an exclusive network is a good idea for the industry or the consumer.
Right.
Zillow has come out and said that. Now you could argue with the portals, of course, that of course they want everything on IDX because that's what they're getting. But Jeremy Waxman there was giving an interview. They talked to representatives from EXP, and even some of the big brokers, like they had a gentleman from Windermere, who would be exactly in the same position in the Seattle market, in the Northwest market, because they are one of the largest independent brokerages there, to have a place where they have their own exclusive listings. But it was definitely very clear that Compass was really the one lone holdout of that, right? Brian Barrero, because Robert Rifkin was there and got interviewed by John DeMichelle from Trebs, but before that, I always we talked about Brian's last post about Clear Cooperation,
which was really good.
It was really good. He gave another great insight to CCP and what it means to the industry. So he came up with his normal 1,000 watt does a lot of research and and talking to a lot of consumers and how they feel. And his premise was this: it's like, okay, there seems to be, if you could imagine the Wall Street Journal, right?
Okay.
And let's imagine the Wall Street Journal a year from now, right? These are some of the kind of headlines, you could see, right? And he put up kind of mock headlines of, one with CCP in place and one without, right? And the first Wall Street headlines were all about like, the industry doesn't have private listing networks, or the MLSs are still in cahoots, and that type of messaging, right? And he says, okay, there's he premised it like this is a situation where it's like the old game show, Try Your Luck. Any path you choose is fraught with problems, right?
Right.
But if so it doesn't matter what you it doesn't matter which one you choose, you're going to get shit for it, right?
Right.
So in one path, here's what the Wall Street Journal has headlines about: the industry, the cabal of MLSs, and all that nonsense, right? And the next one is that the industry hides listings and exclusive networks, which are prohibitive towards low-income, elderly, and non-white people, right? And then he had several examples of each kind of scenario. And his point at the whole thing is like, if you're going to take the hit, you don't want to take the hit on being, this exclusive whatever, right? And I thought that really was a great way of framing the whole thing, and it served as a kind of a good primer to when Mr. Refkin hit stage.
Sure. So, but if I remember correctly, when the Refkin letter mentioned like 78 signatories and some MLSs, like MRED signed onto that letter, right?
Some MLSs did, sure. Yeah, there were some MLSs that did. I think MRED is a little different because they're one of the only MLSs that have kind of like corporatized the private listing network, where they have their own, right, that they put up for everybody.
So did anyone interview Rebecca or anyone from MRED?
I think I missed the one they had Rebecca on, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So I missed that one.
Because I would think that would be the most interesting conference, right?
Well, I think a vast majority, CCP. Yeah, but a vast majority of, I think the MLSs were, I think they were. I don't want to say they were on one side or the other, but I felt that that they realized that they first came after cooperation with or compensation with this thing, and this the CCP. It seems like they're coming after cooperation as well. So it's a threat. For sure.
Did anybody talk about the fact that CCP is a problem because of the monopoly effect of the MLS?
I don't think they went into. I think that's underlined the whole thing. I mean, if you have one place and you can take something away from the one place where all that data is, sure. But it also is. I think Brian said it in that article, or I read it somewhere else. To me, the fact that you're aggregating, the fact that you're compilating all the data into one place makes that a commodity that people can compete on, right? If you don't have that one source of truth, then, otherwise you're competing upon what's in that network,
I know.
Right?
I'm saying, what about the competition between MLS?
Right. We did get feedback from the last time, our last thing, at least I heard directly from some people about, saying that, doesn't Rob know we compete with MLSs all the time. Who? This is not,
who's
for services or whatever. Well, other MLSs.
Oh, MLS saying they compete with other MLSs.
Yeah. We got a good laugh out of him.
Yeah. Sure you do.
Well, all of them don't want 522 of them, right? So, they want somebody gone. So that's, to me, a little bit of a sign of competition.
Exactly.
You talk about wanting, 10? That's what you want?
I think the world's going to end up
So you further want to compress what's out there,
I think the world's going to we're going to end up with somewhere between 3 and 13.
Right.
I've always said 13 feels like a decent number because that's how many college conferences there are. And I think college conferences kind of, they used to, not anymore, because, you have like random ass, I can't remember what it was, like some Texas school joining like the Big Ten. I'm like, what do you have to do with what? Who is it? Syracuse is part of the ACC. I'm like, in what world? Like what? Like, so there's some erosion of that. But it used to be like the SEC, was like a cultural block. The ACC was a cultural block. The Pac West was a cultural block. The Mountain West, right? So I thought those cultural blocks, to me felt like an MLS. But now I'm thinking it could be three. Like Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, something like that. But it's not 535,
right?
And like we compete with it. How do you compete with it? You don't have the data, so because CCP, and for one reason. All right, so they didn't. Okay, so that wasn't like a big topic. That's I don't know. Maybe next year.
Well, I mean, it's an underlining thing. I think what people are talking about. I mean. To me, the kind of the nothing burger of the show, in a sense, was, the interview of Robert Refkin. He, I guess flew in on his jet, I guess, and landed and took the stage with John D. Michel. And to me, it reminded me of the kind of all political debates where nobody ever answers any question, right?
Okay.
So when he was faced with he came out with listen, we have surveyed our brokers and agents, and 94% or some percentage want, us to have some sort of private listing network. I mean, he didn't put it that way, but basically that's what he's saying. And I'm just representing them. I'm just representing them. I'm like, and it's just in my head, I'm listening to my mother of telling me, well, if everybody jumped off the cliff, will you jump off the cliff? Right. I mean, that's not leadership. That's not, I mean, that's, I had a problem with that type of argument. Right. And then, to me, I'm not even sure if I believe it because these are all 1099 people. They're not even his employees, really. Right. So I'm not even sure if that's going to even hold any water.
Well, there's customers.
There's customers for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay.
And if it's true that 94% of his customers say they want private listings, then I guess he has to push for that, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know. And we talked about this on the last episode of he might convince his agents or agents might have convinced themselves that doing these exclusive listings is a good idea, but it's. At one point, when does it come up when they list and 2 weeks later, their seller goes to the agent, well, how come I don't see it on Zillow? Mm-hmm. My aunt doesn't see it on Zillow. Oh, well, I told you it's actually better for us not to put it on Zillow. Mm-hmm. Or something like that's going to shake the fucking seller up to go, what the fuck are you talking about? Right. I'm becoming a bit more optimistic on really, if they're even going to deliver on. But the thing, when John D. Michel was asking him some questions, he started just throwing all this spaghetti on the wall. Did you know that, that listing data is taken, it's sold $1 million. He was throwing shade on CoreLogic.
Yeah.
Then he was throwing shade upon Zillow about their business model. I mean, he was just as I kind of funny put it on my blog, it was just, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the pets of the people in Springfield. It's what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
you're not. It almost gave me an impression. I don't know if, I mean, this is a man of color, right? Who is raised, who was one of his mentors was Vernon Jordan, mm-hmm. A civil rights a hero, right?
Yeah.
And he's gone through a lot as he's talked about personally in his, podcasts and on YouTube channels. I just don't know if, I'm not sure he believes this. Right. And the other thing is to me, it's okay, if you think that by holding back listings is the key to your business success, right? Well, motherfucker, when this thing flips and it all, it's been a long time. Yes. It's been a seller's market forever, but we thought it was all great in 2008. It flips.
Yeah.
You're fucked because what other tricks do you have up your sleeve? You got to go fundamentally first and fix what's why your business is not performing the way you do, rather than rely on this kind of parlor trick to help it, right? So I don't think he's really focused on how, if he's worried about his business, EBITDA and everything else, if he's relying on them to stay exclusive in a buyer's market, he's fucking crazy, right? So I think he's just got to he's got to think about what he's trying to do.
I think I mentioned that I had a conversation.
I see the twinkle in your eye right now. So
I mentioned I had a conversation at Blueprint that I didn't want to talk about right now. Might as well talk about it, right? I'm going to leave the guy's name out. We'll just say he's a industry figure, very well known, who's got probably 4 or 5 decades of experience, kind of the MLS side, the real estate data, that whole technology. I mean, he's a...
You're going to have to tell me who this is offline.
Yeah, he's the man, all right? And we were having this conversation at Blueprint, and he said something that really struck me, because it's something that I've written about and I've sort of thought, but it applies to the CCP context. Basically, his view was that the MLSs were dead. It's just that we don't know it yet. And his premise,
we don't know it, or they don't know it yet.
They don't know it. We don't know it. He's like, we're not going to see it for a good 24 months, 2 years probably. But after that, we're going to really start to see it.
But this is it's like the MLS is dead meme, right? We talk about this every year.
I know. It's like
Inman has got a fucking thing about.
I know.
Is this the death of the MLS?
I know.
Right?
And let me put it this way: this guy's never said anything like that.
Okay.
Right. So he's not like me, I guess. Where I predict the death of the MLS every other month. No, and his take was basically, look, we could tell ourselves all kinds of whatever narrative, but the MLS was and has always been about compensation, right? I mean, it literally was the vehicle for the offer of compensation, which is why brokers are called participants and not members, right? So that's gone now, right? And he thought the end result would be that we would look a lot like commercial real estate in a few years' time.
Yeah.
And he pointed something out that I'm like, I've known this. I'm the guy that wrote this and really warned the industry about it back when, remember when Andrew was talking about FOMO and, the buy, exclusive listings that creates FOMO and the benefits of FOMO.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, and I went, at the time I was like, they must defend the MLS at all costs, so, et cetera. Basically, what he's saying is, if you look at commercial real estate, it's utterly and completely dominated by 3 firms, right? CBRE, JLL, and God, why am I blanking? This is so terrible. I'm getting so old. My memory is not. I start forgetting names. Cushman Wakefield, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because they don't have an MLS. They don't have that system of commercial. So the bigger firms have all of their own inventory, right? And it's not, so the kicker on this is it's a terrible consumer experience. No question about it, right? But why do they do it then if it's such a terrible customer experience? Because what it does, it allows them to do recruiting of the top talent, the top commercial agents.
You kind of see that in New York where they don't really have a formal MLS.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you need to think of it that way, and when you take what he said seriously.
but that's, you're talking about one thing where it started that way. It's a much different thing to give consumers experience for the past, 75 years of one experience and then dismantle it in front of their eyes, right?
Look, I mean, there's also sorts of reasons why this may not come to pass. I think, though, what it forced me to do is think about incentives, right?
Right.
When you think about incentives, I'm like, you know what? If you are Compass, if you're EXP, if you're a big broker, right? If you're Windermere, to your point, you have so many incentives to create exclusive inventory, right? And everyone's talking about it is right, that it's going to worsen the consumer experience. Brian Boyer's right. The Wall Street Journal might write articles about, the industry's hiding, listings from black and brown people. Fine, all true. But what it does, though, is it likely doubles Windermere's market share conservatively. Because what it's going to end up doing is wiping out all of the bottom 50%, right, of brokers. The small brokers cannot compete in that environment. And when you think, well, what is it that a broker actually does? Not the agent, the brokerage.
Right.
Their actual business is not buying and selling houses. Their actual business is recruiting and retention of agents. And I thought that logic is very, very forceful, right? So that's, again, just as a thought experiment. I'm not saying this is going to happen, you know, like, and I don't know who's on the board, but Leo Perea, right? CEO of EXP, came out very much in support of CCP. Said I would be, and I think he said at I think it was the Riz Media event, it's like, if you get rid of this, I would be the biggest beneficiary. I still don't want. Don't want this. He said that, right? Okay. My issue is EXP is a public company. So what happens at the next board meeting? The board of directors goes, "Hey, so Leo, if we're going to be the biggest beneficiary, right? Talk to us about how that translates into, stock price, right?
Right.
And like, and I Leo's a good dude. He's like one of the best guys in our industry. I think his heart's totally in the right place. At the same time, he is a fiduciary of the corporation, right? His duty is to the shareholders of EXP, not to the industry at large, right? Not to MLSs, certainly. And I'm like, yo, the incentive structure, the pressures, I think, are not what we think they are, right?
Right. I think, but though, going back.
Wait, before. So going back to what this guy said is like, so he's predicting like 5-6 years from now, he thinks the MLS will cease to exist because the big guys will just leave. So they don't care about CCP, right? It's like, fine, keep CCP. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to leave the entire MLS. And it's like, it's just unthinkable right now. Like, just saying that, hearing that, I know everyone just heard that. It's like, get the hell out of here. That's never going to happen. I'm like, I understand how ridiculous that sounds, right? And yet, you could see something like that happen if the incentives on the other side are big enough. If you have enough market share, you know what, we're just going to leave, right? And it's a little bit like how Southwest, for the longest time, did not join any of the online travel portals. Like, if you wanted to book a Southwest ticket, you had to go to southwest.com, right? There's a little bit of that sort of vibe going on right now. And the key thing is, and the reason why it's, quote, different this time, and again, he could be wrong, we all could be wrong, is because he's right. Compensation has been removed. And that was the central reason for the MLS to exist and the central power and the value of the MLS, right? It's something to think about, man. It's fascinating. Yeah, and I'm guessing no one talked about this at CMLS.
Well, I think that's the undercurrent of everything, right? Clear cooperation to me is in a nutshell what you're talking about. That's the issue below it, right. Is that our private networks, our exclusive listing is going to be the norm, right?
Right.
And it's like that famous Jim Barksdale quote, right, from Netflix, or sorry, Netscape. You can only make. There's only two ways of making money: bundling something or unbundling something, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a bit of that in there, but I don't know. I think when you talk to, like, when you hear Jeremy Waxman or the people at Zillow talk, they talk about, for the consumer, this is the best thing. When you talk to the other countries, they all look at ours and marvel of like, oh my God, I wish it was that way, right? When you talk to the Leos and the Windermere's and whatever, everybody thinks that this is the best thing for the consumer.
Sure.
So I think there's a little bit of a holdback here of like, are we going to really go against something that we kind of know is good for the consumer, even if it might be more and Zillow said the same thing. Hey, if we were like other countries, our other countries have better EBITDA than we do. Mm-hmm. Right? They have more revenue than we do, right? But we still think this is best for the consumer. So I think there's a tying thing to that thing that's going to either slow this down to nothing, or that we're going to do it. And again, I think the market, we're in such a weird market where it's just been going up as far as it's been a seller's market for so long, and the pandemic added to that and everything else, that when it flips, right, you want as much exposure as everything, right? So it's like these things are temporary stuff that I think people realize in the end. If you even everything out, you're going to maybe find that it's still in the best interest, even though in times like this, it seems like pocket listings are going to be the rave.
So my only observation on that, though, Greg, is completely agreed. Like, if that went away, if we didn't have this system where consumers could just see everything, like, it would just make everything worse. I mean, there's no denying that the experience would suck. my only thing is I'm not convinced that if the market flips, then all of those big brokers who then pulled out of the system are going to pay for it. They're going to be punished. I'm not convinced that. Here's why. Commercial real estate doesn't have this, right? Are the buyers, and right now commercial is in like the biggest buyer's market ever. I mean, we're talking about office buildings
some
selling at
levels
like
of
90%
I think
discount.
office commercial is, yes.
Sure, but you know what I mean? Like it's hammered. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing like this, you know, like popping up of like commercial brokers everywhere, right? In other words,
Well,
the
it's
buyers.
not about popping up commercial brokers. It's just letting the data free.
No. What I'm
Right.
saying is that the buyers call the big guys because the buyers know that the big guys are the ones with most inventory.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a seller's market. I mean, it's a buyer's market, right? Okay, well, I'm gonna call CBRE, right? Like,
Right.
why would I call Rinky Dink, you know, 10-person firm?
Yeah, I
We
just
don't
don't.
have
I think
access to it.
I do think that a lot of the, you know, the examples you're making commercials. Just, I mean, I get that, but it's just we're you know we would first have to dismantle which consumers are already used to that for so many years to make that happen.
I don't think so, man. Consumers are not used to the MLS. Consumers are used to Zillow.
Okay, but I mean,
Right.
they're a
So
broker.
famously, think about this. Consumers are not allowed to join an MLS, right? So what is there for them to have gotten used to? Nothing.
No, I think it's just a free flow of data. I mean, you can give it any you know, whether you want to personify that as Zillow or Realtor.com
Realtor or
fine.
whoever, right?
Yeah, but I mean
internet.
yeah, exactly.
So
But
I don't
but
know.
maybe this is a good way. Maybe this is a good way to segue
Yeah.
because in some areas it seems like the ownership of that data seems to be now in question. You know, you think I mean, we all think it's the brokers that own that data, but it seems that there's other MLS organizations out there
Yes.
that might have a different take on that. You want
Yes.
to talk about your last article?
Sure. So I wrote a post. Again, it was kind of a short one because I was at a conference, you know, but I saw this come across that the new RE Colorado management had sent out a new participant agreement to their brokers with a deadline of October 9th to sign by. I have since been told that there are numerous errors and mistakes and just places where I'm just wrong. For example, apparently the transaction has not yet closed. I said it.
Yeah, I heard that.
it had closed.
Yeah.
It had not yet closed.
Well, then,
Well,
if
if it
that's the
had-
case, who sent that out? If they
new
didn't close, who
management.
sent that out?
The new management's
The new
already in effect, right? I mean, the CEO, COO, and the CTO got fired. The entire board got dismissed. So, boy, that's awfully fast considering the deal hasn't closed. But okay, cool. The new management has sent out this new participant agreement, right? And I remember I'm reading it. I'm like, this is horseshit, basically. And the key issue was around PDAP. And you and I have talked about PDAP in a previous installation. So
Well, it's not PDAP. It's just the key issue is ownership.
But that's kind of what I mean, right?
Okay.
Meaning, there's a standard clause that you would find in just about every MLS participant agreement, right? That talks about, look, we'll send you a feed. You have to apply for it. Like you have to request it, right? You have to sign a license agreement, and we have to approve of it, right? But that paragraph only dealt with IDX. Okay. In other words, it was, hey, if you want an IDX feed, you have to request it, right? And then we have to license it. You have to sign this license agreement, and then we get to whatever, right? And we have to approve it. And we're under no, we don't have to give it to you, right? Because
Right.
IDX. The issue with the new RE Colorado form was it included IDX, VOW, broker back office, and PDAP. And that's the big one. Because PDAP, Participant Data Access Policy, this was when 2018, 2020, I think that was passed. But the whole premise was it's the broker's own data.
Right.
And the understanding in our industry forever has been the broker owns the data. They kind of deposit it with the MLS. The MLS can create a compilation of all the broker's data, and the MLS owns the compilation, right? So the broker doesn't have the right to take the entire MLS database, the entire compilation. But to the extent that they've put their own data into the MLS, that's their data.
Right.
That's been like a bedrock, right, of how things worked.
Yeah. Put it more simply, the broker owns the listing.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the data that's attached to it. Okay.
Well, it's a listing, data.
Yeah, listing and all the data. And then the MLS is licensed by the broker. Hey, you can use my data to do what you need to do, including putting together this compilation, and you own the compilation copyright. Okay. And I don't own the compilation copyright. That's always been the understanding. Meaning, and this is like participant rights, MLS handbook, section 18. It's very clear. It's a mandatory rule.
Yeah.
If a broker says to an MLS, hey, I would like my own data through the PDAP feed, right? The MLS has to give it to them. You can't charge more than what's like reasonable for the cost of doing that. Well, with modern technology, the cost should be zero, right?
Right.
It's literally like, here's a feed, right? It's zero. And critically, you can't put any limits or conditions on what the broker can do with it because it's the broker's own data, right?
Yeah.
By including that in that paragraph, what RE Colorado is saying is, hey, broker, for you to get your own data back out of my system, number one, you have to apply, use an application form that we approve of, and then we get to decide whether we want to approve that or not. And then you have to sign a license agreement, right, which could have all sorts of terms. And then we get to audit how you're using it. And it's like, this is not your data. This is not your data to assert this, right? So that's really what I pointed out. It's like, yo, if I'm a broker in that market, I don't sign this, right? Don't sign it.
Do you think it's just
lawyer.
An oversight, or they just don't get it? And it happens sometimes, right? It's like, oh shit, well, we didn't mean to say that. It is your data.
Sure.
We were thinking it from another standpoint.
Sure.
Okay, we'll make a fix here. Do you
Sure.
think there's that? Maybe there's a possibility that
It's
happened?
possible. It's possible. Like, I didn't talk to anybody. Yeah, it's possible, right? Since then, I've spoken to a couple more people from the ground there. No one from RE Color has reached out to me, and I don't expect them to. I'd be surprised and delighted if they did. In fact, if they want to come on this show and explain, like, that'd be great. Here's my thing. If this was a simple error, then the fix is really easy. All they have to do is issue a new participant agreement, remove any reference to PDAP, right? And just acknowledge that, no, of course, your own data, you want that back? Absolutely. Here it is, and do whatever the hell you want with it.
So was there anything other than the PDAP feed about the subscriber agreement that changed? Why did they do this? What was the thing?
I don't know what the rationale is, but there's other sections of it, right, where it talks about sort of ownership. It's really poorly written, right? Like, literally, like, I feel like they copied and pasted that somebody didn't look at the language. If you want to pull it up, I can, but I don't know how interesting or exciting that is.
No.
It talks about, like, listing content, which is the broker's intellectual property. There seems to be a suggestion that the brokers are signing a lot of the rights to that, to the MLS. And it's convoluted, man, right? It's convoluted. And again, there are some reasons why an MLS wants that. Like, a lot of times the MLS wants to protect the copyright. In other words, somebody comes in and posts one of the broker's listings on Craigslist and pretending it's like their own listing.
Yeah.
Obviously a broker can go sue and defend that. But a lot of times the MLS says, we'll take care of that for you. But in order to do that, we need you to appoint us as like your attorney, in fact, that sort of thing. So I could see why that's in there. It's just written really poorly. And to me, it's just like, look, the PDAP thing got around all that, which is no matter what else is in your participant agreement and the MLS rules and policies and blah, blah, blah bullshit. If you want your own data back, here's all of your own data back. By the way, including all of your historicals. Like, that's in the participant, like all of that, that broker's off-market information. If you want it back, here it is. And I think that's the understanding that makes sense, which is the broker's listings, broker's data. We, the MLS, are custodians, right? And we're just holding it. We're doing it for you and aggregating and making it available. And then when you want to access somebody else's data, if you want to put someone else's listing on your website, that's when the IDX comes in, VOW, broker back office, all those other things come into play. And since you're using somebody else's data, then you do have to live with whatever rules that the collective has come up with. That part is maybe it's an oversight, in which case we should see a correction pronto. It's an easy correction, right?
Right.
If not, then we get to ask questions of why'd you do this?
Right.
Now
And then,
that you're now that you're not a realtor MLS, why'd you do this?
Yeah, there's something wicked this way come or something. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But it was a weird thing to drop it while CMLS was going on.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought they were going to, slip it in there. Again, I have to think this is just somebody just made a fucking mistake. Or they're worried about something else.
I think they're worried about something else because
Yeah.
I did hear from some brokers on the ground. And one of them told me how he signed it. Right. Because someone from the MLS reached out, hey, I need you to execute this new participant agreement. And did not explain this major change. Right.
Yeah,
So
maybe there's
it's a
just
little
hope.
bit like
Yeah.
buyer agents, here's a contract. I just need to sign this without explaining. If you sign it, right now you're gonna owe me 3%.
You know what this smells like to me? Let me just throw this conspiracy theory out here, right? As a person who sold 3 companies, right? What basically happens during the due diligence process, right, is that you got to get all your contracts in order, right? And before you sell, they want to see this and that. Like for instance, do you have agreements with your developers that anything they created there is the company's not theirs?
That's right.
And that's, in maybe big corporations, you kind of do that on the onboarding. A smaller company doesn't have that, so we'd have to go back and get that. Do you have do you have an agreement that shows, some other kind of thing that they want to just make sure is in place, right? Where is the contract for the data you use for, the walk score? We have to have all that so they know that, okay, what are we buying here,
Sure.
right? And, this feels like, well, you represented to me, I'm talking about if they're selling to somebody, you represented to me that the MLS was in control of A, B, C, D, and E. Looking at this agreement here, it doesn't say that D, I'm in control of that. You represented that to me because maybe these people didn't know it. Mm-hmm. So I need you to go back and make sure that what you're selling me is exactly what I'm supposed to be getting. I mean, this is just, it feels a little bit like that.
Okay. Maybe.
But, who knows?
Maybe. I mean, at the same time, though, supposedly the guy that's behind the Mazel, the company that's buying RE Colorado, he's a long-time industry guy. I think he owned a title company. He's been a broker. So if you didn't know that the idea that the broker owns the listing data and PDAP, then it's
Well, maybe he did know, but he took advantage of people that were just trying to get a deal done and make them represent that they did have that. And then as soon as this happened, he goes, no, you...
No, but what I'm saying is why would you even request that when you know that the broker owns it? In other words, there's nothing...
Maybe he thought he could get it.
Maybe, but then why? Why get it? What does that do
it's my
for you?
opinion, but my speculation.
Here's the bottom line. What it does, of course, is RE Colorado, right, as a non-realtor MLS, right? And I think there are some smart people who are starting to see, hey, without compensation, we need some value proposition, right? So Sam DeBoard, wrote that long multi-part series about it. The only one that seems to get any sort of real traction is the idea that the MLS is central repository of data, right? So maybe this RE Colorado is saying, hey, we need to strengthen that up, really shore that up, make sure we're the only source for this.
But that doesn't include just holding data hostage from the very people that created it, right?
Not only that, but again, I feel like whatever contract was signed by the brokers up to this point may be void because you failed to explain this major giant change. This is not a small change, right? This is a major giant change. So now, if it was an error, right? Their junior attorney who drafted this didn't really know, so just kind of threw it in there. Cool, easy fix, easy fix. If on the other hand you don't want to fix it, then I think brokers in that market need to go, why do you feel like you need to own my data?
Yeah.
What's that all about, right? Doesn't that change our relationship, right? And that's hey, I'm happy to have conversation with whoever. So, like I said too in my post, I think if I'm a broker anywhere in the country, even with a realtor MLS, I would go and pull a PDAP feed. Right.
So yeah, I mean, just to see if it works.
Yeah,
And if you
just
can
to
do
see if it works.
What kind
just
of
to
what kind
right.
of what kind of resistance do you
That's
get?
right.
And that
That's
would be
right.
basically.
And if I get a hint of resistance, I now understand that MLS has some plans in mind, right?
right.
And I would go back and reread a lot of these things, and talk to your attorney about it, because I ain't your attorney. So anyway, that's fascinating, man. That's still developing, so we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get some news, soon that they've reversed their policy or whatever. Oh, oops, this was a oops. That would be easy. I'm not getting that vibe because, again, from people I know, kind of in that area, I'm getting the vibe that like I'm getting attacked.
Right.
Like, all right, let's have at it. Want to debate? Anyway, let's wrap up. I can't believe we spent an hour talking about this, but next week I'm still traveling. Hopefully you are at home, being able to relax, and we should do a live stream soon, don't you think?
Yeah. We got to get a Cole. We have to practice one first. And then we'll get something like that going out for sure.
All right, cool. So let us know if you would like to see a live stream. If you would like us, if there are any topics you would like us to address, we'd love to hear from you. So otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.